where I'm going to show you how to play this game and make it really easy, because it's not really that hard of a game to learn. Well, it is a hard game to learn, but it's not really that hard to learn it. It's more hard to memorize it, if that makes any sense. There's just so much. This game is so feature rich, and it is very easy to just forget systems sometimes. That's what makes it so hard to learn, because once you learn something, you end up forgetting it later on, because it's like, I did this one niche thing, but I don't remember how to do it anymore. Hopefully this video will help you learn the game. The biggest hurdle is the keybinds. So like, the best way to learn the keybinds is just look up the cheat sheet. There's a Cataclysm cheat sheet for the keybinds, and it will show you all these keys, and they're actually very intuitive. They will become muscle memory for you over time. At first you'll think, oh, this is really annoying to do. There's so many keys. I don't know what to press. I accidentally press this key. I don't know how to undo it. It's all fine. You need to learn them, but like over time, it's sort of a gradual thing because you don't use all these keys very often. Of course, you use certain keys at certain times, and sometimes you will forget the keys, and you'll have to go back to the cheat sheet to learn them, or you could use the in-game menu to learn them as well. But I find the cheat sheet to be the most useful because you could see all the keys without having to, you know, look through a list basically. There's multiple forks of this game. I mean, there's really 3 main forks right now of the game. So there's Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, which is the main fork, Cataclysm Bright Nights, which is a fork of Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, which basically, Bright Nights is more of a gameplay focused. It's more gameplay focused. It's more like fun focused, and it's more sci-fi oriented. Whereas Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead is more of like this. They try to make it as realistic as possible, to the point where like things become unintuitive and the gameplay kind of takes a hit. You know, it's not. I could go into little niche, you know, nuances between the two, but all you really need to know is that if you like games, if you like having fun, Bright Nights is probably for you. If you like super detailed survival mechanics and like having to like count your vitamins and all that stuff, and having certain pockets systems and like no sci-fi really elements, and just you're probably better suited towards like Dark Days Ahead. But if you want a super like, if you want basically the Cataclysm experience, I would go with Bright Nights. There's another fork by Worm Girl, I think, and which is the 3rd main fork. What is it called? Let me look it up on my phone really quick. Cataclysm Last Generation. So this is the 3rd main fork. I would consider a main, you know, one of the main forks of the game, basically. Apparently, I can't really speak on it very much, that fork of the game yet. It's supposed to be a lot like Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, but it's more sci-fi oriented. So if you like the more realistic mechanics of Cataclysm Dark Days Ahead, but you also want the sci-fi, then you probably want to play Cataclysm: The Last Generation. I haven't played it yet, so I can't really speak on it, but I will try it eventually. But I mainly play Bright Nights just because it's what I'm used to, and I like it the most. It's quite fun. So that's really all you need to know about like the 3 main forks of this game. They're all free. They're all technically open source, technically, I guess. But yeah, so once you get into the game, you will notice that you don't have any mouse. You can't use your mouse on anything. Don't worry about your mouse. You won't be using it 99% of the time anyway. You need a full-size keyboard, so you need a numpad to play this game. So if you plan on playing this game, you need a full-size keyboard. Say you're playing this on a laptop. If you're playing this on a laptop, I recommend getting a numpad. If your laptop doesn't have a numpad, just buy a numpad, like a numpad, you know, extension. You get the USB numpad, basically. Plug it into your laptop, and you can play the game just fine, right? If you don't have a full-size keyboard, just go out and buy a numpad. They're like $10 to $20 or whatever. And then you have a numpad, and you once you're not using the numpad, you can just put it out of the way. But that's the best setup if you want to play this game. Just full-size keyboard, compact, or add on a numpad if you need that. So in order to move things around right now, you have to use the arrow keys on the right side of the keyboard near the numpad. So, you know, up and down, of course, left to right. You want to go to world, you just want to create a world. You're going to see a bunch of stuff. Right now I have a bunch of mods installed. You don't really need to worry about mods right now. If you want to play modded, I would recommend playing the game and learning the game first before using any mods at all. The game will come packaged with some mods and some add-ons. I think Aftershock and stuff like that. Because the game comes packaged with some mods. And these are basically like add-ons more than mods, but they're technically mods. So I'll choose some mods that I would consider basically staples. You basically always run, so you guys will just have them on. I mean, you could play with no mods, but I recommend playing with the minimal mods first. Just the basic add-ons that most people use. So let me remove some of my mods that I'm not really using right now. Some mods have a big impact, some don't. Let's remove all these. Okay, so this is what I would consider like the basic Bright Nights mod list. You should have all of these mods installed with the game, I think. I think it comes packaged with Secronome and Aftershock by default. These are basically just content packs, like they're listed under content packs. They kind of expand on the base game, essentially, so if you use your arrow keys to hover over, you can see the green arrow moving. You could hover over that, and if you press V, you could view the full description. And it'll show you who the author is and all this stuff, and what it does. It says not recommended for noobs, but it's up to you. You could play with it, or you could not play with it. Secronome adds in stuff that's, like, not really crazy different from vanilla anyways, so I just recommend playing with it if you're new to the game, honestly. Like, you can choose to not to use it at first if you want, but I feel like it's more fun with it on. Aftershock adds more sci-fi stuff, so why not? I mean, we're playing a sci-fi oriented fork of Cataclysm, so we may as well use Aftershock. Basically, any fork of the game you play, you should be able to use these mods. In order to access some of these mods, you have to hit, let's see if I can remember. See, even I forget sometimes what the keys are. You have to hold shift, and then period, or comma, to go between these lists. So it's basically like pressing the greater than and less than sign next to the M on the keyboard. Basically shift comma or shift period. And you could go through the list. So you have default content packs, or default, you have blacklist, which is basically like blacklist mods. So if you wanted to like say, oh, I don't want to fight feral humans, you can enable this no feral humans. And this is balance. So you might be able to find like mods like simplified nutrition right here. See, I just disabled it. We can enable that right here. You enable it just by hitting enter. So like I said, you really don't have to enable mods. Disable NPC needs, simplify nutrition, and Aftershock, at least. Those are the mods I recommend, and Shrub It Off if it has that. These are like basically little minor things that help make the game slightly less annoying. There's a mod pack for Bright Nights. If you look up Bright Nights mod pack, there should be a GitHub repo that has all the mods for Bright Nights. There's also mods in the Bright Nights Discord server you could find. There's like a channel that has all the mods that people make. So in order to exit out this world mods tab to go to the world options, you just hit tab. You'll be using tab a lot to switch through menus and stuff. So we're basically using like where I have my hands right now on the keyboard, I have my hands in the standard, like, WASD loadout, or layout, whatever. Like, if I'm playing, like, a normal, you know, like, say I'm playing Minecraft or whatever, you know, hands on the WASD keys. And my right hand is on the arrow keys right now on the right side. So I'm using only the keyboard. This is the great thing about this game, is you really don't need a mouse to play it. And you can just use your keyboard most of the time, and it's very comfortable. These are the world options. I leave these all at default. You could change the settings if you really want to, but most of the time I play on default settings. You could change all sorts of stuff, like monster speed, monster resilience, size of cities, city spacing, initial time, construction, wander spawns, surrounded start, static NPCs, random NPCs, radiation mutations, character point pool, a bunch of stuff. I mean, like, you really don't have to touch any of this. This is just like stuff. If you want the game to be different, you can do it. So, world name, I'm just gonna name this like tutorial world. So now you just use the arrow keys, left and right arrow keys, to go to new game. And we're just gonna make a custom character. So hit enter. We're gonna select our world here with the arrow keys. It's gonna load. What I usually do on the points tab right here is, so we're creating our character right now. So multiple pools or single pool in freeform. So freeform is basically no point restriction. You can just create whatever character you want to, which can be fun if you're just messing around, of course. Or you want to do like a roleplay sort of thing, but most of the time I go single pool just because it's less complicated than multiple pool. These are the starting scenarios. You have all sorts of scenarios. Let's see, which one is an easy one, but not too hard? You do not want to do a winter start. Okay, if the scenario flag says a winter start, and you're kind of new to the game, I don't recommend doing it because it starts you in the middle of winter, and every single NPC and like enemy basically has mutated. You need like good equipment basically to do that, so... Large building is a really good start. I use a lot. Surrounded is also a good start. You basically earn 2 character points for choosing these. Other than like the default evacuee start, where you start in an evac shelter. I usually go with large building or surrounded, but if you want an easy start, just go evacuee and you won't get it. You won't really have to fight anything. But I'm gonna go with large building. I find this to be a pretty easy start, but it's also, you know, you get 2 points and you get to fight a few zombies, maybe. Or you can just avoid them. We can choose a profession now, so we're at 10 points, we gain 2 points, we started with 8. Which one do we choose? I mean, you could choose the base survivor one. It costs 0 points. So you won't lose any points for choosing that. You could choose some like, you know, hobo, where you earn a point, but you do start with alcohol withdrawal, which is not very good. So, you know what, I might go with shower victim because you earn a point from it. You start with nothing, but that's fine. We could find stuff. There's tons of professions. I mean, if you want to go back, you just hit tab or shift tab and it goes back. If you want to go forward, just hit tab. There's so many starting options. I mean, there's so many. You want to play as a gangster, like, there's tons. There's literally tons. I mean, just choose whatever you want to choose, really. I mean, some of them are going to be harder than others, obviously. I'm just going to choose, like, shower victim. You start with no clothes, no items. You gain a point. Certain professions start with, like, vehicles. Certain ones start with, like, weapons. Certain ones start with certain skills, certain clothing items, you know, all that stuff. We're just gonna choose a default one. We don't get anything besides a towel and some soap. So strength affects HP, carry weight, melee damage. It makes you resistant to poison, and stuff like moving furniture and pushing things and pulling things, and working on vehicles and all that stuff. Strength affects a lot, so it's... If you're going to be a melee character, I recommend having a decent amount of strength. So if you're going to play as a ranged character, I recommend having high perception. If you're going to play as a crafting sort of person, you want intelligence. Dexterity is good for like melee mostly, and throwing, and like dodging, but I wouldn't recommend playing as only a dodge character. It's because... Like, if you're gonna only focus on dodge, it's not gonna go well for you, because you can still get shot by certain things and hit by certain things, so... What I'm gonna do here, I think I'm going to go with, like, just a basic melee character. So, 12 strength, and dexterity. Now we gotta choose traits. If you're gonna play as a melee character, I use fleet-footed most of the time. You get a 15% bonus on sure-footing. It means you basically move 15% faster. Movement speed is really important in this game because you'll be able to outrun and get away from enemies faster. Indefatigable is pretty good. Your maximum stamina regeneration is 25% higher than usual, that's really good for a melee character because you're going to be using stamina like a lot as a melee character. So tough is also pretty good. Yeah, 20% more hit points. Those are pretty good. The thing is with tough, you will survive certain things that will, in other cases, kill you. So this is a pretty good melee, basic melee character. So now you notice that we're at -1 points left. So we're -1 character points. So we try to create a character right now, we wouldn't be able to because our points are negative. So we need to choose some negative points in order to counterbalance that. So there are some free points that are basically free. So if we choose like something like ugly is free points. It affects NPCs. But there really aren't very many NPCs in this game, and NPCs are, I'd say they're not very useful. Squeamish is free points. Clothes in this game only get dirty from dead corpses. So if you pick up something off a zombie, it's gonna be dirty, you just need to clean it. I think I might go with poor healer, honestly. Basically, you gain HP 33% slower, but that's kind of okay because that's only when you sleep. And if once you upgrade your medical skills, it's pretty easy to basically counter that. So just choose our character options now for what our character will look like. You can choose your skin tone, you can choose hair, facial hair, and eye color. So we're going to choose melee skills. We'll just tag melee, dodge. Fabrication might be nice to have at the start. First aid is really easy to learn, so I'm not going to choose that. I think I'm going to go with melee 3, dodging 3, and then fabrication at 2. We'll be able to dodge and melee pretty good at the start, and we'll be able to craft certain basic melee weapons. And so use arrow keys to cycle through your name, your height, and your age. Select your gender, you use the @ key. And then if you want to choose a starting location, you choose \. I'll choose apartment building. I kind of envisioned that to be the start. So we'll just hit tab and then hit yes. I guess we're ready to play the game now. I mean, it takes quite a while to create your character. You really don't have to make anything crazy. You can go as crazy as you want to, basically, with it. So once we spawn in, you can press Shift and Z, move in and out. So if we, go over to our sheet, you can see right here, zoom in and zoom out. Basically, Shift is the Alt function, so each key has 2 keybinds. So if you hold Shift, it changes those keybinds. So most of the time, I just press Z or Shift Z, and it zooms in and out. So we can zoom in and out and look around. You can notice there's that one zombie child down here, and it says that right here. So there's also a mini-map down here that shows that. If your menu here doesn't look like that, what you want to do is, let's see, I'm going to hit escape. Whenever you can't find a keybind, just hit escape. And we're going to go to display keybinds menu. And this is where you can change the keybinds, you can look at the keybinds, you can search for keybinds. You'll notice that there's a lot of keybinds. A lot of them are also unbound. So let's see, what is this menu called? Sidebar options. So if you look up sidebar options in here, you'll see it's this. So this is the sidebar options menu. So if you just look up sidebar options, you can find it. And in this menu, you can edit, basically, the sidebar right here. So you can see I have certain things enabled. You just press tab to toggle the panels on and off. To change the display order, you just, you know, press enter and move it up and down with the arrow keys. This is what mine looks like. So if you want to copy that, I have the classic layout right now. I just wanted to make sure that that's, because I'm not sure if this is the default sidebar. I think I might have changed this a little bit, so you can copy that if you want to. I think the default sidebar is probably perfectly fine, but I've edited mine so it fits better. So you notice we have a zombie child right here on the sidebar. In order to look around even more than just like Shift Z, we can use the look around key right here, which is X. So if you press X, my numpad is on. Use X and use the numpad. So, you know, 8 would be up, 2 would be down, 4 would be left, 6 would be right, and then like 9 would be up right, 7 would be up left. So you can look around like this, and you can also press, you know, Shift Z to look, you know, zoom in and out. So now we can kind of look around, and once we, you know, highlight the zombie child, we can look at its sort of stats or whatever. It's hostile, it's aware of our presence, it's slower than us, it's not injured, and then you could read the description for it. For example, once we look around, we can look at, you know, what's around us right now. So, you know, we have a broken generator right here, we have heavy machinery, we have a terminal right here, a console, closed wooden door, walls, and a window. You can notice that every single empty tile that you can go on says movement cost 100. We'll have a movement cost, basically, and a movement cost is basically how fast, you know, you move over something. So, for instance, like, the default movement cost is 100 for a floor, so we'll move at the default, you know, speed on this floor. The broken generator right here is impassable. We can't even walk on this. The terminal, we can't even walk on that either. Right now, we can't go on any of these spaces right here, so we just hit escape to exit that. If you want to, you know, look around, you just press X and the right, you know, the right numpad, you know, numbers. Make sure your numpad doesn't have the numlock enabled, otherwise you won't be able to use them. So now we're able to look around pretty easily and to, you know, figure out what's around us. You can also view the lighting. If something's smashable, I guess. I don't know why that's a setting. I don't think you can smash floors. I guess you can smash floors, but nothing happens. So, for instance, right now, the zombie child can see us right now. So, wherever our presence. You can also see that by the little arrow key. If your game doesn't look like mine, in terms of, like, the graphics settings, we can press escape, options, graphics, and then I have a tile set installed called Undead People tile set. You basically, if you want graphics like this, you need the Undead People tile set. I'm not sure if Bright Nights has it by default. I think it does, I'm not entirely sure. You'll notice if you want to move around, you basically we can't move around right now. If you want to move around, you use the numpad to move around. But you'll notice we can't do anything right now. We're basically in safe mode, so we need to turn safe mode off. So, save mode is always on by default, unless you turn it off every time you load a save. I play with save mode off all the time, so only time you ever need to enable save mode is if you're like moving around at nighttime and it's like really dark out. I really don't use save mode very often. So I'm going to turn it off. Basically, to turn it off, you just press Shift and 1. Now save mode's off. Now we can move around now. So you basically use the arrow keys on the numpad. Well, not the arrow keys, but the numpad numbers to move around. So like 4 would be left. It's the same way we moved around with the look around menu, basically. So you notice if we press 5, we're just passing a space without moving, and so this zombie child's gonna break through this window and climb in here. But it can't because the broken console's impassable. So we're basically safe right now. But if we open the door, You open the door just by, you know, pressing into the door. Let's open the door, and there's, of course, there's a new zombie over here. A zapper zombie, which will shock the shit out of you if you touch it. And also you'll notice that we're on the roof of the building. There's open air right here, so you can kind of see down. It's like a fire truck down there. And we got a tough zombie right here, and we have a decayed zombie right here. We need to get out of here, so how are we going to do that? We don't have any items. Let's figure out, in order to figure out what items you have in your inventory, you just press I. I is for inventory. Pretty easy to memorize that, right? I, inventory. So you can see what items we have. We have a soap bar in our hand, and we have a towel that we're wearing. Not really useful. What we could do is we could throw our bar of soap at, at this decayed zombie. And you basically, in order to throw an item, you just press T, and E for throw, so it's pretty easy to memorize. We hit the zombie for 1 damage. That's not a lot of damage. If you notice, it's lightly injured right now. So we lightly injured it with a bar of soap by throwing it. Throwing things is not very useful unless you've got like some throwing weapons. So we're gonna need a weapon that's actually good. So if you notice, the tough zombie is now moved beside us. They don't want to kill us, they want to eat us, so in order to basically get away from zombies faster, we're gonna basically use the toggle movement speed key, and so we're just gonna open up our keybinds menu, cycle movement mode. I bind this to Q by default, so you can, you know, bind this to Q, and it's basically the cycle movement mode key. So let's press Q. If you notice, once we press Q, we can change our movement state. So we can either run, we can walk, or we can crouch. So this would be run, this would be crouch, this would be walking, right? And so when you're crouching, you're basically less likely to be seen by enemies, and you can hide better, but you move slower and you make less noise. So crouching away from zombies isn't very good because you're slower, so if you run away from zombies, that's a lot more useful. So let's get a little bit of the distance. We're gonna go back to walking now. Running takes stamina to do, so if you notice up here on the top right, we have stamina, STM, stamina bar. It basically is the amount of stamina we have. Once you run out of stamina, your character is basically not going to be able to fight. They'll be able to still hit things, but they're not going to do very much damage. They won't be able to like dodge very well either, I don't think. You won't be able to run. You'll move slower, I think. So you don't want to run out of stamina. You want to have your stamina up most of the time. If we look at this tough zombie is slower than us right now, it says. But we also have a new zombie over here, a Z9. It's a zombie German Shepherd, and it's as fast as us right now, so in our walking state. If we go to running state, and we look at this Z9, it'll say that it's slower than us now, so you can basically choose your movement state and highlight an enemy, and you'll be able to know how fast you are compared to the enemy. Let's look around right now. It seems to me that the only way out of this predicament we're in right now is by going down this. This might be the stairway down to the next floor, so we're currently on the roof. So we're going to go back to walking right now, and we're going to actually press E to examine, and we'll examine the fence right here. This is a fence. And we're going to climb it. So right now we're on top of the fence. You'll notice that the fence is impassable, but as long as we press E on a fence, you can climb over it, so let's walk up to this door, open it. I'm gonna run inside and close the door, and then I'm gonna go... I'm not gonna go down, I'm gonna peek down. So in order to peek, you hold Shift X. So, you know, we were using X to look around. We press Shift X to peek. And so let's peek down. In order to peek down, you basically just press page down. In order to go up and down, we just press page up and page down. So if you want to go up a Z level, you go page up. If you want to go down a Z level, you go page down. So it's pretty easy to remember, up and down, page up, page down. So there's nothing down there, so let's go down, page down. And we have closed doors. We hear something right here. We hear a clang from above. So those are the zombies hitting on the fence up there. We can hear them from above. I think I'm going to walk forward, and we hear more clanging from above. That's fine. There's a zombie right here. And these are apartment buildings, so we might be able to find some clothes in here, actually, if we look around. But there's a zombie right here, so what do? Let's crouch and move. Okay, the zombie sees us now. You can see that by the arrow key. Or the exclamation point, I mean, not the arrow key. Let's go back to walking now. I'm gonna walk away. Right now we're faster than zombies. Because we choose the what trait is it? The fleet-footed trait. If you want to view your character stats, you just press the Shift 2 key, so @ key. Just press Shift 2 and it opens up the character stats page. And you can see all your stats basically here. So, you know, your stats, if you press tab, you can look at encumbrance, warmth of your body, or yeah, of your body parts. If you press tab again, it'll go down to skills. All your skills are down here. What I recommend doing at the start of every game, you don't have to do this, but I recommend disabling driving skill. Because driving basically takes focus to do. Every time you level a skill, it takes focus. And if you notice over here, our focus is currently at 99. The more skills you train, your focus goes down. In order to, like, train skills that you want to train, you need to focus. Leveling up skills reduces focus, so makes it slower to level skills, right? You don't want to level driving, really, because driving doesn't really do very much. I mean, it gives you better control over vehicles at higher speeds, but vehicles in this game are already pretty easy to drive, so... Or they're already pretty quick, so you don't really need driving XP. I at least disable it. You can level it later on, but right now we're not focused on driving, so let's disable that, right? Give you our traits, of course. Our bionics, we have none, and effects, we have none. We want our focus to be, you know, high in order to gain XP. If your character is tired or in pain, I think they lose focus too, so you just have to memorize that. This door right here is locked when we try to go through it. So is this door. We have items in this mailbox right here, but how do we get them? We press G for grab, I guess. And you can now look at the items right beside us. So we have a book and another book. Book for sewing and a book for... What is this train? Cooking skill. Requires intelligence of 5. Increases our morale. Takes 24 minutes to read. Contains 2 crafting recipes. Boy grass and fairy bread. You can view all the stats for it as well. And in order to scroll, you just press page up and page down to scroll up and down. So this sewing book contains a lot of recipes, but it also allows us to upgrade our tailoring skill, which is a pretty important skill if you want to, like, repair your armor and clothing and whatnot, and, like... Because whenever you get attacked by anything, it has a risk of getting your armor or clothing ripped, you know, degraded, basically. Let's dispose of the soap bar, let's drop it, and let's pick up this. We don't have anything on our inventory to really carry anything. So we'll just pick it up right now. We can't go through this door. There's doors down here. There's more books in this. We just press G. Another way is another way to look at items is what is this? The / key, I think it's called. It's in the middle of the numpad near the top. And basically you have two menus, basically. This might look really intimidating at first, but this is actually a very useful menu. This is basically like an inventory transfer menu. So let's highlight the left one. It glows white when it's highlighted. We'll just press A. A is for all, so basically all items around us are right here in this pane right now. And we press tab over here, we can press I for inventory, and it will show all the items in our inventory. So we currently have no items in our inventory. If you want to filter through items, you could press backslash as well, and just type in whatever, you know, you want to look up, right? If you want to view the stats of an item in this pane, you just press E. And it'll show you the stats, page up and page down if you want to scroll. So you want to look at something in the bottom right now. So like, you know, basically let's just choose the bottom one right now. The bottom space below us. 2. So it'll go to 2. And right now the left one, or the right pane is in inventory. So we can choose all sorts of different things, different, you know, floors. You can see it's a southeast floor, south floor, like right here. This says mailbox right here. So most of the time I just have it on A, so it's just surrounded area, all 9 squares. This makes looting very, very easy. If you want to loot quickly, I just use this menu, right? The inventory management menu or whatever it's called. If you notice up here, if we try to, like up here 7, 8, and 9 above us, you can't put items there right now because this is a solid wall, so you can't put items inside of walls unless you, like, break the wall or something. There's more books. We really don't need books right now. We need to get clothes. Clothing is more important right now. Not freezing to death is probably more important. There's an elevator right here. Power's off, so that's not gonna work. Sometimes I use just the G key to loot as well, the grab key. Just to loot items, because it's quicker sometimes than pressing. It's kind of muscle memory for me. Like, if there's only, like, one, you know, item nearby, I just press G, and I look through it like that. You can also use the backslash key to look as well. You'll notice it's the same thing, except you have all 9 squares available to loot. So all these doors are locked. I mean, we can't really get through them right now because we don't have anything to bash the doors in or pry the doors open. So let's just, like, close this door. In order to close doors, you just press C for close, so it's pretty easy to memorize. Well, this is a glass door, so this zombie's gonna break through this glass door, watch. Oh no. The decayed zombie from above just went down on Z level. Sometimes zombies can do that, sometimes they can climb up and down stairs, sometimes it's kind of rare. Let's go up and this way. The zombie just lunged at us, but we dodged. You can see the console menu down here. It'll say basically what's going on. Okay, view message logs, so if you want to view the message log, you can bind this to, like, Shift P. I have it to Shift P, so I'm not sure what it is by default. Maybe it's on this, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not even bound by default, I'm not even sure. But I recommend putting it to Shift P, since Shift P isn't used by default, so you can just press Shift P to look at the history menu. So let's go page down, let's go down a Z level. There's more zombies in here. I think it's wise to just leave. Let's just go all the way down. All the way down as far as we can. Okay, we're on the first floor now, I think. Yeah, we are. So, to the north, we have another zombie. This zombie can't see us right now because we're in the dark and we're pretty far away from it. There's another zombie outside. There's a car over here, atomic compact car. We might be able to see if this works. There's a crawler zombie right here. Another zombie to the south, so... What should we do? Let's actually consult the map. So let's open map with M. It opens the map. We're in an apartment tower. It takes up 4 cells, 4 spaces. So we have a house to our north, house, library. Library's pretty good. There's books in the library. So we could use those books to gain skills pretty quickly. Power substation. Large office tower. Early on, you basically want to get like a bag, something to carry items with. And, like clothes, of course. Your character probably already has clothes if you chose a normal person start, but I chose the shower victim start. So let's go north to that house. Houses are decent places to loot early on because they might have bags to carry things. I just got hit there. There's a lot of zombies here, which is quite interesting. So I got hit on my left leg, which is fine. I was trying to walk past a zombie and I got hit. If you notice, our left leg right here has a health kind of bar right here. It shows how much health our leg has. We've taken a little bit of damage. That's what that little backslash is. So let's actually run away from the zombie. If you're adjacent to a zombie, there's a chance they can hit you. So there's a zombie corpse right here. There's a lot of, you notice there's a lot of zombies here. There's kind of a ton. I'm kind of surprised. We need to get away from these zombies because, I mean, we might get messed up if we don't have a weapon. So let's run just a little bit north. Door is locked, so what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to run up to this window, smash it. In order to smash a window or smash anything, you just press S for smash, so it's pretty easy to memorize. There is a chance that this door could be locked, which would not be good if that was true. Let's run through this window. There's a lemon lime soda in here. There's probably clothes in this wardrobe and then this dresser over here, but I'm not gonna risk it because this tendril zombie might get too close to me. I'm gonna run up to the door. Okay, the door is unlocked. Let's run through it. Let's shut the door. You shut the door just by hitting C for close. Okay, there's pork and beans right here on the shelf. I think what we need the most right now is some clothes. So let's go over here. There's a pair of sneakers. It's a poor fit. Well, it's better than nothing. There's nothing in these bookcases. Let's walk up here. There's a steak knife. Let's pick up the steak knife. Let's dispose of this. Let's drop it. In order to wield any item, you just press W, and you can just wield any item. So let's wield the steak knife. We've wielded it. See, weapon held, steak knife. This is the inventory menu. So let's open up that back tab or that backslash menu again, or you know, what we call this, the inventory management panes. I don't even know what this menu is called. I should probably look at what it's called in the keybinds menu. It's advanced inventory management. So if you want to change it to something different, you can. We can see all the items around us. We got like candle, chef knife. I'm curious if the chef... Okay, meat cleaver. We got some pretty decent items here. Let's check if the chef knife's better than our current weapon. So let's go to our inventory. Let's, you know, let's click enter on our steak knife. And we'll go to page down to view its melee damage. You can see right here the melee damage of the steak knife. It has 2 bash, 7 pierce, 2 hit bonus is -1. 67 moves per attack. Typical damage per second is 17. DPS is best. So this is against an average target. It's going to do 17 DPS. Versus an agile target, it's going to do about 9.69 DPS. And versus an armored target, it's going to do about 0.56 DPS. So it's a decent weapon against average enemies, but against fast enemies, it's kind of worse. And versus armored enemies, it's almost completely useless. So the steak knife is not that great of a weapon against armored enemies, so let's open our advanced inventory menu. Let's not do that. Let's go to our steak knife again. Let's press, is there a way to compare? I could have sworn there was a way to quickly compare items. Compare two items is Shift-I, which is kind of weird of a keybind, but whatever. Shift-I to compare items. So let's compare our steak knife. I'm basically using the arrow keys. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. So, like, left arrow key to, like, go between these tabs, up and down on the arrow keys to go through the list. And then the right arrow key selects the item to compare. You don't really have to use the compare menu. I basically never do. But you can use it to compare items pretty quickly. We'll just compare the chef knife to the steak knife, for example. The chef knife is actually better than the steak knife, just slightly. You can see that chef knife is green, has green stats. The steak knife has red stats, which means they're worse than the steak knife. But the steak knife does have higher butchering quality, as each tool in this game basically has like a tool quality. So the higher the tool quality, the more uses it has in certain instances. For example, like the steak knife has, 15 butchering quality, right? Well, the chef knife has 10, so if you're gonna butcher an animal, the steak knife is probably the better option. For right now, we're not really worried about butchering animals, so let's just drop the steak knife. In order to drop an item, we just press D, multi-drop. If you want to drop an item to like a location, you just press Shift D, and it'll ask you to drop where, and you just press, the direction you want to drop it in, so let's drop our stick knife over here, I guess. And that's wield. In order to wield an item, like I said, I think I said that before, is you just press W for wield, so let's wield our chef knife. There's also meat cleaver here, so let's open up, let's look at the meat cleaver. Press E on the meat cleaver. That's page up, page down. 24 DPS on the meat cleaver, so that's a lot more than 18. So let's drop our chef knife. Let's wield, I keep on pressing Shift W instead of W. Let's wield our meat cleaver, enter. Now you've noticed that these zombies have kind of broken down this door and they're climbing inside while we've been kind of figuring out what items to pick up, which is okay. We have a pretty decent weapon now. Meat cleaver is pretty good. We can press X, of course, to look around. Some items you can see, without, like, being next to you, but items inside of cabinets and stuff, and inside of, like, a fridge, you have to be right next to the container in order to see the items inside of it. Let's walk over here. There's a steel frying pan. We don't really need any of that right now. There might be another room over here. I'm gonna run over there. Our stamina is still pretty high. I'm gonna open this door. Close this door. This is kind of risky because these zombies might be able to run back in, so I think what I'm gonna do is actually run back. Okay, well it's too late now, so we've got ourselves in a little predicament. Let's try to fight our way out of here. In order to fight, you can press the arrow key or the numpad key that you want to use in that direction. So you just like walk, it's like walking towards the enemy, and so we're hitting it now. We dealt 14 damage, 10 damage. The zombie lunges at you, but you dodge, you dodge. You can also press tab to attack as well, and that will automatically attack any enemy in your vicinity. So we've killed that zombie. We got a critical there. We killed the second zombie. So the meat cleaver's pretty good. We also have pretty good stats. So if we press shift 2 and look at our stats, you know, we've got like pretty good melee skill and dodging skill by default. So these are the zombies here that we just killed. There's another zombie here. I'm pretty confident we can fight some zombies. Okay, well there's more zombies here than I liked. There's also a firefighter zombie and a zombie soldier. Zombie soldiers are armored, so I can't really fight that thing at all right now. And I think firefighter zombies are also armored. I think what I'm going to do here is I'm going to try to get away from these zombies. Let's just try to get away. This door is locked right here. Smash this window open. Let's go inside. Let's actually go upstairs. Should be pretty safe up here. Get some clothing, finally. So all these are poor fit clothing. Clothing that's poor fit basically increases your encumbrance on that body part. Some clothes will, others won't. Like, certain, smaller clothing items won't really reduce your encumbrance on your body part if it's, like, a smaller item and it's a poor fit. So, like, socks, for example, will always have 0 encumbrance, even if they're a poor fit. So you don't really have to worry about, stuff like socks, but... Let's put on a pair of socks. Let's put on some clothes. So in order to wear clothes, you just hit Shift W for wear, right? You can see now that, the keybinds in this game are fairly easy to remember. Shift W for wear, right? W for wear, W for wield, C for clothes, D for drop. It's all pretty, easy to memorize. Let's wear, a pair of socks. Let's wear, dress shirt. Let's wear cargo shorts. What else could we wear? Pair of fingerless leather gloves, why not? You can see each piece of clothing has, most clothing has a bash, cut, bullet, acid, and environment protection value. They also have warmth values. For that specific body part that they're on. They also have a coverage value too, so how much they cover of that body part. And they also have an encumbrance value, so... the clothing system's kind of... I wouldn't say it's super complex, but it's pretty, it makes sense. For example, if you have, a high armor, or high warmth piece of clothing, but it only covers 5% of your body, of that body part, it's not really gonna do much, right? It's not gonna keep you warm or keep you, bulletproof or bash proof or cut proof, right? Or whatever proof, so... it's good to have higher coverage points, basically. We have a balaclava right here. You really don't want to wear stuff like balaclavas. The reason why, I'll show you. I'll wear a balaclava. Let's press Shift and plus key. This will go to the sort armor key. This will basically just show you, what armor you're wearing and your encumbrance values of each clothing piece, your warmth values, the properties of certain clothing. And you can also re-layer clothing. So if you notice, innermost clothing layer, pair of socks, balaclava, towel, pair of sneakers. These are just all the clothing items right now that we're looking at. And then the outermost layer is the fingerless leather gloves. Cargo shorts, dress shirt, pair of sneakers, towel. So if we go to torso, for example, I'm just using the side, you know, the arrow keys, the right and the left arrow keys. You'll notice that these are both yellow. The reason why they're yellow means that they're basically conflicting with each other. We don't want to have conflicting clothing pieces because they increase encumbrance by a certain amount, or by a drastic amount, basically. So because we have two of the same basically items in the same slot, it adds extra encumbrance. If you notice, we have 5 encumbrance plus 2. That plus 2 value is basically increased by having 2 of the same items in the same slot. We don't want that, so let's press T or Shift T to take off item. You can, you know, take off item with Shift T, so T for take off, right? We can also drop clothing too that we're wearing, so we'll just drop the clothing we're wearing. So T for take off, D for drop. We'll just drop it. I usually just use the multi-drop feature, so just press D. We'll drop the towel, wet, drop it. We don't need it anymore. It's slowing us down. Well, it's not technically slowing us down because it's a torso item, but having higher encumbrance on certain body parts affects certain things. So if you have high torso encumbrance, you're not going to be able to dodge as well. If you have high head encumbrance doesn't actually matter. You can have high head encumbrance, and I don't think it affects anything. What matters more is mouth encumbrance and eyes encumbrance. If your eyes are heavily encumbered, you won't be able to see well in darkness and dark environments, I think. I know that, but I think it's also, it also affects shooting accuracy, maybe? I'm not sure. You really don't want eye encumbrance unless you find, like, some protection for your eyes. Like, you know, bulletproof eyeglasses or whatever. But mouth encumbrance is the most important thing you should not have in this game. The reason why is because it affects stamina usage and stamina regeneration. If you have high mouth encumbrance, your stamina is going to regenerate slower, you're not going to be able to run as much, you're not going to be able to fight as much. It's so important that you don't have any mouth encumbrance. So immediately I picked up this balaclava and I wore it. I'm going to drop this because this has mouth encumbrance on it. We can look at the balaclava and we can scroll down and we can look. It says encumbrance 2 for all parts. Well, what is all parts? Well, let's look down. Let's look up, rather. Covers the head, which is fine. Head encumbrance is fine. Mouth, though. We don't want anything on the mouth. And it covers 95% of the head and the mouth, so we don't want to wear that. No mouth encumbrance. It's not good. We can just go through this list right now. We see on the All tab, nothing is yellow anymore, which is good. We don't want anything really yellow because that adds bonus encumbrance. If you have high encumbrance on your feet, like super high encumbrance, it's going to slow you down. So you don't want to wear like super high encumbering shoes or whatever. That's not very good. You can look at all this in the character sheet. So it actually says melee. Okay, so torso encumbrance affects melee attack rolls, dodge skill, swimming movement point cost, melee and throw an attack movement point cost. We could scroll through this list. Head encumbrance has no effect. Perception when checking traps or firing ranged weapons. You can look through all this. I recommend having as low as possible encumbrance, but I mean, you still need armor, so at some point, you're gonna have decently high encumbrance, but it's gonna be fine because it's armor that you're wearing. It's gonna protect you from taking damage. So, I mean, you don't want crazy high encumbrance, but you also don't want, like, you don't want no armor, right? Because if you're, you know, you're gonna get killed if you don't have armor on, so The most important thing is basically you have pretty low encumbrance most of the time. Make sure you're not wearing anything that you really don't need to wear. And make sure that your mouth encumbrance is always at 0, but, for example, like, feet encumbrance is movement point cost, and, like, legs is, like, dodge skill, swimming, some movement point cost. Hands is, like, dexterity for throwing, reloading speed, melee and throw and attack movement point cost. So, like, the clothing system is pretty complex, but it's really not. You want to have as little encumbrance as possible in your body. Of course, while still wearing armor, you want to have armor on. You know, don't just say, "Oh, I'm not going to wear any armor because it has encumbrance." Like, armor prevents you from dying, so and it mitigates damage as well. So it's very powerful. Okay, so what else can we wear here? We can press I to go to our inventory. So we're wearing socks, sneakers, shirt, shorts, gloves. We have sunglasses, which I really don't need that much. Earrings, doesn't really matter. Yes, I see there's a cash card right here, so actually what I'm going to do right now really fast is I'm going to press S in our advanced inventory management menu. So S for sort, basically, and we're going to sort everything by category. Much easier to see certain things, so we'll pick up this cash card. This cash card, we can use it for vending machines, which somehow still have power, I guess. I don't know how vending machines are still on, but the lights are off. I guess they run on nuclear power or something. I'm not entirely sure. Also, you could use cash cards to buy gas as well. I can't remember what else. I think it's just those two, buying vending machine items and stuff like that.